You bought a domain name, built a workspace, then let the project sit untouched for 6 months. You have had that gym membership for 8 months. It's likely you won't go. Psychologists argue this isn't laziness. It is a mechanism where the brain prioritizes avoiding loss over chasing new goals. This reflex is often an attempt to protect you from the discomfort of potential failure. You stare at the screen until your eyes blur, feeling like nothing changes. I once spent 3 weeks designing a logo for a business I never launched. Setting up the software feels productive. It isn't. You happily spend your entire weekend picking brand colors to avoid finding out if anyone actually wants what you built. In this video, you'll understand why your brain often feels anxious about the prospect of finishing. Then you'll learn how to flip that fear so it forces you to cross the line. The gap between starting and finishing isn't an accident. Many people feel a significant surge of hesitation the exact moment they get close to the end.
The cost of endless planning.
An early alarm goes off at 5. You might still find yourself unable to open the folder. It's not a lack of willpower, but a sign that the friction is elsewhere. A desktop folder sits there right now, full of half-finished outlines you refuse to delete and refuse to open. You unconsciously slip into this quiet avoidance pattern. The stall feels like it happens on its own, but it often stems from a need to keep your options open or an unconscious fear of judgment. One delayed launch quickly turns into an entire year of watching other people succeed with much worse ideas. They ship. You endlessly edit. 12 months vanish while you polish the details.
Every time you abandon the effort right before the final step, you lose a little more trust in yourself. The real cost hits when you watch your own potential turn into a pile of dead files. You quietly stop believing your own promises. You already know how the story ends. That hesitation costs you more than wasted time. You might notice a distinct hesitation that arises right before you cross the line. The cost is already rising, and if left unchecked, it can follow you into everything else you start.
Why the fantasy feels safer.
The whiteboard is full of revenue projections you drew in 3 different colors of dry erase marker. You prefer a perfect idea over the reality of a messy result. The planning is a hiding spot. You sketch out the entire business plan, but you refuse to make the single sales call that would test it. As long as the plan stays on the board, it remains perfect. The moment you pick up the phone, the fantasy risks becoming a failure. You avoid the call because a rejection forces you to admit the brilliant idea was flawed. That's keeping a lottery ticket unscratched because the dream of winning feels better than knowing you lost. Nothing breaks, you keep the illusion.
The loop only breaks when you force the action. Set a 10-minute timer and make one terrible draft. Publish the draft before the timer ends. The pressure drops. The room stops feeling like a waiting area and the actual work finally begins. You might find that the same avoidance pattern creeps into other areas of your life as well. This reflex follows you out of the office and into the way you handle your personal goals, where the stakes feel even higher.
The illusion of zero investment. Waiting for a clear schedule rarely works. The plan collapsed. That expensive running watch sits in the drawer because the date you set arrived and you did absolutely nothing. Initial fatigue from a new routine can be overwhelming, making it feel like your body is pushing back. Strain in your lungs can trigger a physical urge to stop, and your mind may interpret this discomfort as a sign to bail out. Withholding effort becomes a brilliant way to dodge defeat. The poker table offers a perfect example. You hoard your chips, watching the cards drop without ever playing a hand. Zero risk. You never win the pot, but you never technically drop a single dollar. Delaying the workout feels comfortable because discovering you lack stamina stings. Put on your running shoes the moment you wake up. Wearing the gear often silences that internal debate, making it easier to head out the door before hesitation sets in. Lacing up bypasses the mental debate and builds momentum. The morning stops feeling like a negotiation and starts feeling like a planned routine. Walking away from your own goals costs you time. This hesitation slows down your personal progress, and the impact often intensifies once there's social accountability involved. Leaving before you get left. Picture a passenger leaping out of a moving car just to avoid the possibility of a crash. You sabotage a connection because you fear the other person will eventually leave. A quiet Friday evening turns into a shouting match over unwashed dishes. That logic often influences how you approach relationships. Stability can sometimes trigger a desire to retreat, which might lead you to overanalyze a text before hitting send. You would rather blow up a good weekend.
Leaving first can feel like a common pattern to regain control, offering the illusion that you are safe from being abandoned. Testing this by staying in one conversation when you feel the urge to run can help you tolerate the anxiety of the moment.
Write down the exact sentence you are afraid they will say to you. Getting the words out of your head can help reduce anxiety. That single physical step might help you break the spiral. Read it aloud and ask if it is actually happening right now. Trying harder seems like the obvious fix. Instead, a more effective approach involves simplifying your options. You can limit your choices in those moments to stop the spiral before it starts.
Why your future self lies.
Willpower can struggle under pressure. A physical barrier can often influence the outcome. One path may help keep the money safe, while the other could lead to spending it by Tuesday. You tell yourself a story on Sunday nights that you struggle to believe. You might promise to be disciplined on Sunday night, only to struggle when the week actually begins. The pain of the future often feels less significant in the moment than immediate comfort. You may experience hyperbolic discounting, where you undervalue future consequences compared to present comfort. Picture locking your wallet inside a heavy metal safe. One click. For many, physical barriers can be more effective than relying on willpower alone. Taking control requires removing your options. For non-essential savings, consider automating transfers to an account you don't use for daily expenses. Just ensure you maintain access to emergency funds.
Removing items from sight can help reduce the frequency of temptation. A forgotten password stops the impulse buy. You think the barrier holds you back. Instead, the barrier is the only thing keeping your progress from being undone by the next sudden whim. To make this permanent, delete the shopping apps from your phone entirely. That one environmental change can significantly reduce the frequency of immediate temptation.
How to burn your ships.
Why does the final step feel so dangerous? For many, keeping an escape route open serves as a subconscious defense against the fear of judgment. Pacing the room becomes easier than hitting publish. Often, this delay feels purposeful, as a way to avoid discomfort, even if you aren't consciously planning to fail. You leave the document in a hidden folder and pretend the goal never existed. It's a common pattern. For many, having a guaranteed exit can lower the stakes, making it easier to step away when the work becomes challenging. Throw your keys over a high brick wall. Now, you must climb. You have no other way home, and your creative art demands that same closed door. Leaving it out often increases the likelihood of abandoning a project when the work becomes difficult.
Right now, your loose schedule is a hiding spot. The only swap that matters: text 3 friends the exact date you'll publish your project. From there, tell them they get a meaningful stake if you miss the deadline. That exit disappears. You have to do the work.
Flipping the fear of loss.
Now you know the traps. You understand why finishing feels like a massive risk and how to use that exact fear to cross the line. Your brain reads any change as danger, even when staying hurts. Your mind often tends to value avoiding losses more than achieving equivalent gains. Loss aversion can often explain why you might sabotage a sure thing to stay in your comfort zone. You keep waiting for some external permission to build something real without getting hurt. Stop waiting. You already have the only permission that matters: your own choice to step forward.
Launch the project attached to that domain name. Subscribe. There's more here to help you claim your ground.